Hello and welcome to Gamecom. Today I thought I'd take a look at something here with you guys, and so for a very long time I have been using a controller from Logitech. As you can see, it's a pretty old one. I think I got this back in 2007 or 2008, so it's a pretty old controller. It's coming to about 8 years old. And the reason why I've used this controller so long is simply because, well, it's one of the best controllers I've ever used. The analog sticks are the best analog sticks I've ever used as far as PCs are concerned. Even when compared to the Xbox 360 controller, it basically has no dead zone. It's incredibly accurate, it's very precise, and the D-pad has one of the best D-pads I have ever felt. It's almost as good as a Sega Saturn D-pad, and that really is saying something, because I consider the Sega Saturn to have the best D-pad in the world. So it's really good. The only thing it's missing is analog triggers, but that's okay. Beggars can't be choosers, because I'm not the kind of guy that wants to fork out a huge amount of money for something like an Xbox One controller just to play games on my PC that generally don't use analog triggers. And for those that are wondering what do you do when it comes to races, well, I usually use the right analog stick to have analog acceleration and analog braking, so that's never been a huge problem. It's kind of like with remote cars, you know, you have this for steering and this for accelerating and braking. But anyways, so this controller is still working to this day. Granted, I did have to open it up a couple of times to get it cleaned and stuff like that, and I did have to replace some parts, but I could just use any parts. It's very easy to get stuff to work. But the reason why this thing is so beaten to almost to dust is simply because I love this controller. I use this controller almost every day whenever I play games, and this has been going on for 7-8 years. But here's the thing. I wanted a replacement, and Logitech, they have released new ones, but a lot of the stuff that the stores here in South Africa keep stocking up with is wireless controllers, and I don't like wireless controllers, especially when it comes to desktop gaming, because, you know, you're sitting right here on your desk. You don't need it to be wireless. Wireless is only really useful when you're sitting on the couch and you don't want kids tripping over cords and stuff like that. So I am perfectly fine with wired. In fact, I prefer wired because, well, number one, it's cheaper to get a wired controller than wireless, and number two, you don't have to worry about charging your batteries or replacing the batteries or whatever. I'm not a fan of that. I'd prefer to just get something like this. But because this is such an old controller, I figured, well, they probably won't sell this again. Now, I'm not saying that Logitech and other companies don't still sell wired controllers. They do, but for some reason the stores around here usually only sell wireless controllers. Not exactly sure why. But then I stumbled upon something at a store called Cash Converters, and I found this. The exact same Logitech Dual Analog controller. Now, as you can see, it's been, you know, this thing was actually sold at a normal store. It's still sealed, and the reason for it is because they probably had this thing sitting on the shelf for years and years and years and years, until eventually the shop closed down and they just, you know, flogged it to Cash Converters. And as you can see now in rands, it's about, at the moment, it's about 13 rands to the dollar. So that's what it was originally priced for 9.95, and now it's been reduced to 199 rand. So it's a bargain. It's the exact same controller, which is one of my most favorite controllers of all time, and it's in very good condition. Although the case is a bit, ugh, you know, you can tell it's been all over the place. In fact, I'm probably going to wash my hands after I'm done opening this thing. But I figured I'd open it now, and I've got my scissors right here. So the reason why I'm excited to have this thing is because I know it works. This controller is really reliable. Oh man, I hate this packaging. Actually, it's kind of a good thing that this packaging, that they use this packaging, because I know that this has not been opened. So because the thing about Cash Converters is that sometimes you don't know if the stuff there is new or second hand, because it's, you know, it's called Cash converters for a reason. I'm sure that's enough. Alright. Ooh, feels new. Yeah, this is definitely... Okay, I don't know why there's a CD here, because this thing just plugs and just works. Yeah, this is... Wow, the comparison. What this... You can really tell this one's been used a lot. I know you guys can't really feel it, but man, yeah, this is new. Although, it feels lighter. No, it's the same. It just, I don't know, maybe it's less dirt inside this thing. But yeah, so this is one of the best controllers I've ever used. In fact, probably test it out and see if it works. I'm pretty sure it will work. It's in mint condition. But yeah, this is easily one of the best controllers I've ever used. And minus the lack of analog triggers, I would say this is actually better than the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 controllers. I'd say it's about on par to the PlayStation 4 controller, although the analog sticks definitely last a lot longer. The PlayStation 4 is known to have analog sticks that tend to peel off if you use it too often or you're too hard on the controller, and that's not good. The Xbox One, well, Xbox One looks like a very solid controller, and it's more comfortable than the 360, so I don't know. I think that's the only real competitor that this controller has, in my eyes at least. So yeah, I'm really happy that I got a replacement to my most favorite controller of all time. This one will now be used as, you know, for player 2 purposes, because it still works, but this one, you know, I would like this to last a little bit longer, so I'm going to start using this one from now on. So maybe I should, you know, check out how it handles. So as you can see, the first game I decided to test this controller on was Super Street Fighter 4 for the PC. And the reason why I'm testing on this game is because this game is very demanding. First of all, I prefer using the D-pad over the analog stick, simply because, well, you know, because it uses digital input. So in this case, it would be best to use D-pad. Now, I said that the D-pad of the Logitech Dual Analog controller is the best for the PC. And it really is. It's much, like I said, it's much better than PlayStation or Xbox 360 D-pads. I'm not so sure how it compares to the Xbox One, simply because I haven't been given a lot of opportunity to use the Xbox One D-pad, simply because most Xbox One games require the analog stick as the main directional input. But as you can see, the controller is very responsive, works just fine. It literally is a brand new controller, even though it's probably been sitting on the shelves for who knows how long, maybe 8 years, or I don't know. But yeah, so it's a very good controller for arcade games, and later on I'm going to demonstrate how good the analog sticks can be as well. But as you can see, I'm playing on very hard mode. This is the hardest difficulty on Street Fighter 4, which, to be honest, doesn't really mean a whole lot, since Street Fighter 4 is the easiest of all the Street Fighter games, but still very challenging. And as you can see, I managed to defeat him with a bit of difficulty, but the difficulty wasn't in executing the moves on the controller. The controller worked fantastically. Now, here I'm playing Trackmania United Forever, which is one of my most favorite racing games, and it's a very strange game because some elements of it is very unrealistic and very arcadey, and others can be very realistic. In this case, we're going to be racing on a somewhat realistic track that I built, and yes, that's for those that don't know what Trackmania is. You actually can build and customize your tracks and stuff like that. And the thing is that, as you can see, I am using the left analog stick for steering the car and the right analog stick to control the throttle and the braking. And here's the thing, I'm playing in the coast environment, which, by the way, has the most, I wouldn't say the most realistic physics, but definitely the most demanding physics most demanding controls. You can't just accelerate and do a sharp turn. You're just going to spin out of control and just slide into the walls. So you need to be very, very careful when you drive. So yeah, as you can see, I'm doing a pretty good job controlling this car. That must mean that the analog stick is very accurate, and because there isn't a dead zone, it means that the slightest press on the analog stick will register. So when I press it ever so slightly, it will register as 1 or 2% of the throttle, which is exactly what I need in very precise games like this. So that is the dual analog Logitech controller from like 10 years ago. So yeah, thank you for watching and take care.